This one right here is kind of a doozy, but make sure you guys stick around for the full video because we're going to be looking at a lot when it comes to this topic. And also to go on top of this, we're also going to be going back to the whole Chris Cuomo interview because I think that even though Cube is talking about the NBA, he's also mentioning these guys in the media as well. So make sure you guys stick around. Pretty sure that we know who Ice Cube is talking about. However, here's the thing. We don't know exactly how many targets he has his quote unquote guns pointed at.
Homeboy Ice Cube. And some of you may not have realized that I'm not part of the club. And a lot of you listening to me right here, right now, you're not part of the club either. And what I realized with the club is what makes them so mad.
Guys, that right there was a small snippet of a Twitter rant that Cube had. Now, I don't know if it's rant is the best thing to call it. Maybe it was just a good old-fashioned statement that he was making. Don't worry, we'll look at the full 3 minutes and 30 seconds here in a minute. But Ice Cube recently has been pretty vocal about the contract for Black America. Now, I am of the mindset that it's probably not realistic depending on the administration that he goes to. And he has been pretty vocal in stating that he did not care who the president was or who was in charge of government at that time as far as legislation is concerned. It's basically what it is I'll work with whoever wants to work with me, which I think is the strategy that most people need to have. Speaking of that, let me give you guys a very, very quick story to kind of preface what I mean by this, and then we'll dive deeper into this to kind of help set things up. There was a controversy, and I'm going to go back to my world of sports for this right here. There was a controversy back in the early 90s involving the Dallas Cowboys, and the controversy, with many controversies they had, was should they trade for Charles Haley? Now, Charles Haley, of course, was an extremely, I don't want to say polarizing figure. So what happened was, you guys may know the story. I would play the clip, but of course NFL, especially NFL Films, is probably going to copyright this video because they've been known to do that because I wanted to play it in full rather than doing a voiceover, where Jimmy Johnson, the head coach, said, I don't really care what the deal is, so I'm going to have my coaches call the Niners coaches, and we're going to have a conversation and see what the deal is. And of course, it basically boiled down to Charles Haley is he's smart, he's hardworking, and Jimmy Johnson didn't care about the controversies or what happened in the locker room. He essentially said, I don't care, I can work with him, which, by the way, is what most coaches or people of power should probably be able to say, depending on exactly what the controversies are per se. Like, you don't want to be working with somebody who's been in prison for, like, child sex crimes or crap like that. I'm just saying, and of course, you could probably equate the world of sports over to politics for that very reason. But just throwing it out there, obviously within reason. So Cube basically went out of his way to talk to the Trump administration, or not really the Trump administration. What happened was that he went to Democrats first, then he turned around and talked to Republicans. The Democrats basically said, we're going to wait till after the election to talk to you about this, where Republicans were like, you know what, we're at least open, what do you have? Which was kind of shocking on Cube's end because, let's be honest, black voters for the most part vote Democrat at about an 88 to 95% clip. Especially when Obama was in office, it was 98%, then it was 96%, and then Trump came in, it was suddenly 8% Republican, then it was 11% of a much, much bigger sample, which probably in a moderate sample would have boiled down to 16%, which is exactly what we think the end up voting total from blacks going to Republican is probably going to be somewhere between 16 and 20%. But it's probably not going to get any higher, at least as far as I can tell, because of the way the Democratic Party loves to pander on the issue of race. However, the thing about this rant is that he was also talking about the NBA. That's part of the reason why I included LeBron James in the thumbnail, because Cube's working on something for the summer, and of course he thinks that just about everybody who's in charge of some form of major institution, like say the NBA, maybe the NFL, politics itself as a whole, there's a lot of gatekeepers there that are kind of holding up the process. Now, with that right there being said, let's go ahead and roll the 3 full-minute rant.
Pisses them off. What club am I talking about? I'm talking about the club of gatekeepers that we all got to deal with. You know who they are, and they definitely know who they are. A lot of people would be like, what, who? Come on, man, stop playing. So ever since I put out the contract with Black America, you know they've been fucking with me. Here and there, this and that. But it's cool, you know. I expect that. You know, I've been working with, on the big three for a long time. And you know how they've been fucking with me with that. I done made it, plain, simple, and clear what they've been doing. The NBA been fucking with us. Now, a lot of people might say, like, well, but Cube, you want to work with the NBA. Really, I don't give a fuck about working with the NBA. What I want them to do, when I say work with us, is to stop working against us. Stop doing that bullshit behind the scenes that we know you're doing. Mainstream media, they ain't fucking with us. And that's cool. We can do it ourselves, you know what I'm saying? We still on the rise without these motherfuckers. So we don't need them, you don't need them. So what am I going to do to deal with these motherfucking gatekeepers? Well, what I'm going to do is go on a Fuck the Gatekeepers podcast tour. And I'm going to go talk to everybody, and get a chance to get my message out to the people. Be able to let people hear from me, and you might agree, you might not, but the important thing is, for me to go on these platforms, say what I feel about what I think. And, some people may get pissed off because I'm going to talk to everybody. I'm not playing. And it's gonna be a crazy summer. It's gonna be fun. Appreciate y'all. Always support the big three. Hopefully I'm doing stuff that you guys dig. I'm not doing this for me. I'm doing this for people that's bored as fuck in the summer with summer sports and want something cool like the big three. So here we are. Appreciate you. Much love, much respect from your homeboy Ice Cube. Remember that.
May have said that a little bit weird. My voice is kind of jacked up this morning. But the thing is this right here. Cube, it seems to me, is trying to work on a lot of things. Stuff for the black community as far as his Black Contract for America plan. Of course, the Trump administration had countered with the Platinum plan. And, of course, there was the whole First Step Act, which, by the way, the First Step Act does have some things that, quite frankly, do need to be criticized. But at the same time, though, I don't think you're ever going to get anything perfect when it comes to legislation, but still at the same time, it's obviously a conversation that's going to be had over 2024. It's part of the reason why it is that I'm going to kind of, when it comes to the world of politics, be doing a lot fewer posts because I want to kind of let the process play out. I'll give some videos from time to time, my personal thoughts on something or something that may be very, very big or something that needs to be debunked, and I'll come on out and obviously say something. But the thing is this right here. What you have to understand about Ice Cube's probably his mindset is that he probably feels that a lot of people in that black pop culture world are not doing enough to help black people as a whole. This right here comes from sports, it comes to politics, it comes to, it comes to city management. Of course, you've got this thing in Chicago where they're about to give $25 million to the illegals rather than the people who actually live in that area that they're actually about to put the money into, which, by the way, the primary inhabitants of those areas are black. So black politicians are not taking care of black people. Cube has probably seen this. He's probably witnessed it over the years, and Cube is probably wanting to say something or step up. Now, before I show you this next very, very important piece that I've already talked about before, which, by the way, is about 5 minutes long, we'll let it go all the way through, I need to say this. Cube does not strike me as somebody who is in the club or outside the club. He strikes me as somebody who has been in the club but then stepped outside the club, back in the club, outside the club. He's probably somebody who I would say is probably more infuriated, more frustrated with the club. I'll talk about that more after you guys see this. But make sure you guys pay very close attention to this. Of course, it's the old clip. It's the Chris Cuomo interview. It's about 5 minutes long. But pay very close attention to Chris Cuomo's language and how he talks. I understand Meathead is not the smartest guy in the world, but still, though, at the same time, pay very close attention.
With all that going on and how the president continues to speak about there being no systemic inequality, it's no shock that Ice Cube got some heat for deciding to work with the Trump administration. He wants to deal with it. I want to understand it. So should you. So here is Ice Cube on Prime Time. Thank you for taking the opportunity, brother. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Chris, your lead-ins are a little misleading.
How so?
Well, the Platinum Plan is not my plan. I came up with the contract with Black America, and I didn't run to go work with any campaign. Both campaigns contacted me. Both campaigns wanted to talk to me about the contract with Black America. One campaign said, we love what you have, but let's really dig into it after the election. And one campaign said, we love what you have. Do you mind talking to us about it? And that's what I did. So I didn't run to nobody. And so that was real misleading to me.
Well, I didn't say you ran to anybody. I said that you had taken a pivot.
Well, you said I ran over to the Trump team instead of the Biden team. That's just not true.
Well, but you are working with the Trump team instead of the Biden team, and people are giving you heat for it. What do you say to them?
Well, I'm willing to work with both teams, but I'm just working with whoever is willing to work with me. So the Trump campaign came to me and asked me to explain to them some of the contract with Black America. That's what I did. I'm not playing no more of these games, these political games. We're not part of a team. We have very broad problems, especially the wealth gap in this country when it comes to Black Americans. So I'm going to whoever's in power, and I'm going to speak to them about our problems specifically. I'm not going there talking about minorities. I'm not going there talking about people of color or diversity or none of that stuff. I'm going there for Black Americans, the ones who are the descendants of slaves. And that's what I'm going to talk to anybody who's in power with that. So if anybody got a problem with that, it seems like a personal problem.
Well, here's the problem, and it is very personal, as you know, for a lot of people of color, because they'll say, well, why would you pick Trump when he says there's no such thing as systemic inequality? Say
I'm
again?
not picking nobody. He's the president.
But why do you think he'd want to do something for the community when he says there's no such thing as systemic inequality?
I don't know what he want to do. I just know what the man said. I know what he said to the country. I've never met Donald Trump. So I don't know what he's going to do. I just know what he said he was going to do. So both of them have a plan. Both of them say they're going to do something. And who knows what's really going to happen after November 3rd. Nobody knows from each side. We're all hoping that candidates keep their campaign promises. So that's just it.
So let's look at it this way. I think that you're right to be skeptical. Let's start with the Democrats, because even though there is a traditional connection between Black voters and the Democrats, you could also say you've been let down or forgotten by Democrats in a lot of situations that would have mattered. Then you say, all right, so then what makes one side better than the other? That's where you get in trouble, which is, do you really think that Donald Trump can be trusted as much as you could trust Joe Biden?
I don't think I'm not trusting any of them. I'm just going by action. That's all I'm going by. I'm not going by words. I'm not going by rhetoric, not going by media spin, not going by none of that. You know, I'm not on nobody's team. I'm not on Team Blue, not on Team Red.
So then I have that wrong.
I'm an independent person.
And I've been telling Black people for a long time that if you choose to leave the plantation, which, by the way, many people have panned as saying it's not a good line because, let's just be honest. Democrats have been running the Democratic Party, especially when it comes to Black people, like a plantation, because they know that Black people are a reliable voting bloc. Of course, some Black people over the years have gotten red-pilled, and I'm actually glad, even though I may disagree with somebody like, say, the Officer Brandon Tatum from time to time. Jericho Green is absolutely hilarious, and he's normally very spot on. I love Jericho Green. I don't always agree with Anthony Bryan Logan on a lot of things, and even Candace Owens I've kind of looked down upon, especially given the stuff that she's got herself wrapped up into with, I'm not going to get into it here, but for the most part, I'm happy that black leaders, and there's also a lot of other channels out here. I think LFR Family, there's a lot of other good channels, a lot of very good black reactionary channels where they react to things going on. And they're basically telling you, leave the Democratic Party, leave that plantation. I'm glad that these guys right here, they actually exist to help black people out because, let's be honest, dude, I grew up with people of color, and all the way around, I have neighbors of color. I mean, so I think a lot of this racism stuff is just is media hyped, and I think it's primarily in much larger cities, especially the Democrat-ran cities, and you can actually see it in the way they govern. Certain areas are cordoned off, certain areas are put to themselves. It seems to me like they've actually segregated those communities the way they have for a reason, because white liberals, quite frankly, are much more dangerous. And Chris Cuomo, who I personally think is one of the lowest IQ of that crowd, which, by the way, I don't even think Chris Cuomo believes half the crap he says, because he's even been caught on camera before saying he hates his job, he hates the things he has to pitch, the things he has to say, and now he's working at News Nation, and his ratings still pretty well suck. And, of course, there was the whole lawsuit with CNN, and, of course, I'm going to throw you down the freaking steps thing, the whole Fredo thing, and, of course, Chris Cuomo has kind of suffered over the years, but still at the same time, though, you guys kind of caught the condescension in his voice. This is how he feels. And obviously, going to Ice Cube, who's just basically willing to work with whoever, he was probably going to be more inclined to work with the Democrats, to be honest with you. But still, at the same time, it's kind of in a condescending tone, and it makes Cube look bad. Well, actually, I think it makes Cube look strong in a sense, because Cube was obviously standing up to Cuomo, even though I kind of wish he may have stood up a little bit more to him. I think it kind of boils down to that this is who Cube is talking about. Is he's talking about those who control the media, those who control the NBA, those who control just about everything. And let's be honest really quick. The players have a lot more say-so in an organization than management does. I know that Adam Silver has wanted to go away from the whole BLM political stuff, but trust me, at some point in time, especially given the fact that we're heading into an election year, trust me, the NBA will get political. I think Ice Cube is the first person to go through this type of nonsense. Let me remind you of what happened to Terry Crews when he went on CNN. Crews, for the most part, in a very small segment, was lectured by Dom Lemon. Okay? For the most part, he was, in fact, lectured by him. Now, I did not play the clip for you guys. I showed you the tagline. And, of course, I'll be leaving the full clip in the description box. The reason why is because it's a relatively lengthy one, and I think there's a lot more context that needs to be put in outside the 5 minutes I gave Q, because I actually thought that the Terry Crews one was a little bit more insightful, because Terry Crews came off as a person who was much more rational. Now, I've heard a lot of people say that people of color are actually much more liberal. I've heard some people say much more conservative. I'm giving you guys something that's completely anecdotal. For my entire life, the people of color that I've been around my entire life have been, for the most part, pretty well religious. Go to church, have Sunday dinner like anyone else. A lot tend to work 2 jobs. Some are working a job with an entitlement coming in. I've personally had to take unemployment before, so I kind of understand, never welfare, but definitely unemployment when getting laid off from the job. So I understand safety nets, and I understand you need a hand up and not a hand out. And one thing that I've noticed over the years, especially when I was in college, was that a lot of black people, when it come to the whole election, especially 2016, was I need to put something into welfare. My mom told me I need to put something into welfare. I need to go put this into welfare. What about jobs? I think what Ice Cube is looking at, and I think we've been looking at for a long time, is trying to help get black people off entitlements and trying to get them actual honest-to-God opportunities to make money. You've got so many black millionaires out there, it doesn't seem to me like nobody wants to actually do anything. I mean, wasn't LeBron James' school in Akron, Ohio, wasn't it kind of a flop? I do know it was this guy named King Randall down in Georgia who was trying to get black people working in trades and stuff, and of course he, for the most part, got completely excoriated by what's that fat guy's name? He's just such a freaking Roland Martin. Yeah. I might get started about that right there. I can make a full 2-hour-long, 3-hour-long video essay on Roland Martin, which, by the way, is something I want to start doing here soon, is video essays. As you guys can see, obviously the office and stuff is starting to come together. I'm not finished, but I should be finished with everything this week. I'm kind of a slow worker. I got a lot of things going on, so I got to kind of do it as I go. But the fact of the matter is this right here. it seems like Cube is actually trying to do something for his community, and it seems to me like he's probably running into a lot of red tape that he probably did not anticipate, or maybe he did anticipate, and he's going ahead and kind of getting it out there that this is what the problem is that we have some gatekeepers out there that are in fact keeping us down. With that right there being said, guys, make sure you guys hit that like button. If you guys think I've earned your subscription, please hit the subscribe button. Please hit the notification bell. Also leave a comment in the comment section. I would love to get you guys' thoughts on this, and I will see you guys later.